Yeah, so hi. I'm really excited here to do something very different for all you guys, and I get to interview Dr. Deanna Minich, who is my teacher, and she's also an internationally recognized health expert and author of more than of 5 books with more than 20 years of experience in nutrition, mind-body health, functional medicine. And she holds a master's and doctorate degree in nutrition and has lectured extensively throughout the world on health topics, teaching patients and health professionals about health. She teaches currently for the Institute of Functional Medicine and for the and for the graduate program at the University of Western States and the doctoral program at the Maryland University of Integrated Health. And she's a bit unique because her passion is bringing forth a colourful whole self approach to nourishment called Whole Detox. And what I really like about Deanna is that she brings something different, bringing 2 different parts together into one big whole. And that is bridging the gaps between science, soul, and art in medicine. And what we're going to talk about is her 21-day detox program called Whole Detox, which is based on her book that she released in March this year, also called Whole Detox. So I'm going to put a link below to Dr. Deanna's website and a bit more about the program. But yeah, let's start. Thanks, Deanna, for having me and for entertaining my listeners.
I want to say thank you, and I really want to give a shout out to you for all of your creativity, your culinary expression, your really big foray into this whole area of non-dieting and really getting connected to mindful eating. I think that all of these things are so important, and you blend them together so beautifully. So it's really an honor and a privilege to be talking with you today about Whole Detox and how that fits right into what you already do.
Yeah, thank you. And I suppose I will have taken some of your teachings on board into my own work and with my own patients. So I'm really interested to kind of know a bit more how you came up with Whole Detox and this colorful approach that you have to whole self-health. So can you talk a bit more about how you ended up here and how you brought the 2 different parts of sort of science and spirituality, art and healing into kind of what you now call Whole Detox?
That's a big question. But what I will say is that really and truly, my patients illuminated the way for me. So for several years, much like your audience and the people that you speak to, I was doing nutrition. So I worked at a nutrition clinic. I did functional medicine. And I was doing nutritional protocols for detox for a very long time. And what I noticed was that people would have these amazing catharses, these transformations as they would go through this program. And it was just a simple, like having a detox shake and following a certain diet. And for some of them, it was really life-changing. They started to think differently about their relationships. And I remember some of them had even thought about quitting their job. And I remember one person specifically who actually did quit her job. So all of these people started having all of these major changes that went beyond just food, nutrition, and their bodies. And then I started thinking, well, why wouldn't I create a program that encompassed those changes, kind of the emotional changes, the mental changes, the spiritual changes? Because as you know, whatever we do on the outside and whatever choices we're making about food and eating, this is changing how we're living. And then how we're living is changing how we're eating. So it's all part of the same whole. So that's how I came up with Whole Detox. I thought, I want something comprehensive. And I was looking at all the different detox programs out there and feeling like they were very trendy. Some of them weren't very safe. Some of them were advocating really extreme measures with supplements. And I just wasn't feeling like that was the way to go. I wanted something holistic. I wanted to really embrace really nourishing the whole self rather than just focusing on food and one particular element of food.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting because basically it started with food and then the other things just showed up and then you sort of, I actually need ways of supporting these internal changes that people are experiencing as well.
Yeah, it did start with food. My love, my heart and soul is really food. I have a PhD in nutrition. I have a master's in nutrition. I've been steeped in nutrition since I was 9 years old. I kind of had this mother who was a health nut, and she had me reading food labels since a very young age. So food and eating were always on my mind, but I never put food and eating together with lifestyle in the way that these patients were showing me that it was happening for them.
Yeah.
And I must admit, it's not just, just working in the clinic in isolation. I was also having a lot of my own personal revelations around my own health. For example, for those of you who have heard my story before, I know that you have, Lynn. I had a lot of reproductive issues, a lot of hormonal imbalances, and that created endometriosis, so an inflammatory condition of my uterus. And nutrition and food only got me so far with a lot of these things. It was only when I started to look at things like, believe it or not, creative expression, painting, and just doing things that were out of the box. I think so many times we put ourselves in a box because it feels safe. It feels really secure to be in that box, but we're so much bigger than the box. And so I often like to say to people to keep exploring. This is a never-ending journey. This is really looking at all the analytical pieces of medicine as well as the creative, spiritual aspects. And to me, spirituality is not religion per se. It's just how we see life. It's what gives us meaning and purpose in life.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I think what I like, and from my own experience, having done Whole Detox twice already, is to bring the spirituality as well, and having that as a pathway into, or actually the other way around, having food and eating as a pathway into our spiritual growth or our personal growth. Like, it can open so many doors. And we often have programs, and like they either do one or the other. It's either mindset, you're working on mindset, or you're working on spirituality or mindfulness or meditation or something like that. And then we forget about the body, and then, or it's just nutrition. I'm like, but the body is the head is attached to the body, even though sometimes it doesn't feel like that, but it is. So why not bring the two together? So that's what I think is so intriguing, how you've managed to do that. And I know that what you mentioned, that like for me as well, I would have been one of these skeptic people. I was like, oh, detox is like another bad word for dieting. It's like a disguised dieting. But can you just talk a little bit more about why, Whole Detox is different from that sort of perspective?
Yeah, and I do want to comment on that, because I feel the same way. Detox has a bad reputation. And the way that I define a toxin in Whole Detox is it's anything that stands in the way of our optimal health. So that could be a bad diet, or bad eating, or mindless eating. It could also be a negative thought that keeps recycling through our mind. It could be emotional baggage. It could be a toxic relationship or an unsupportive relationship. It could be a job that drains us by the end of the day. So it doesn't really matter what it is. Anything that is blocking us from being who we are is what I consider to be a toxin. So with detox, with Whole Detox, what I'm looking at is how do we remove those barriers? And it's not just removing things, it's also putting in things that nourish us. And I think that's another reason why a lot of these popular detox programs fail, is because they're only looking at removal, and it's extreme, and it's, it puts people in the deprivation mentality, so that when they're done with the program, they just want to go and binge and go back to their sugar and their caffeine and their dairy. Really and truly, what I want to do is have a more balanced approach where I bring in, yes, looking at certain things that we remove, but then certain things that we replace, so that we don't have that feeling of being deprived. And I do that through a color-coded system. I love colors, and this is where, again, back to your earlier point about bringing in not just the science, but then the other part of this. What are the softer sides of life? The creative elements, the storytelling, the symbology. So I was just talking with somebody yesterday, and she was interviewing me about Whole Detox, and she said, what I've noticed is that you have gamified detox. You've actually made it a game. And it's so interesting that it's all about colors. Like, how many colors can I get every day? And these colors, as you know, Lynn, coincide with certain systems and things that we do throughout the detox. So for her, she was really busy when we did Whole Detox. She did it the last time. She said, I was traveling, and what made it fun for her is that she just focused on the food, and she was focused on the colors, and she was thinking, okay, what red foods can I get today? Or on other days, what orange foods can I? So for her, it was fun. It brought in an element of play that you don't normally see with a detox program.
Oh, for sure. No, it's like, and all we think about, you know, what is that famous saying from Tony Robinson's where focus goes, energy flows. So if we're so focused on what we can't have, that's all we're thinking about. And all you think about, oh God, when the 21 days are over, I can't wait to get back to doing what I was doing before. And then of course we're back to where we were. And I love that you bring up the color code, because I have a 21-day free program, which is called Eat a Rainbow Challenge. And that's pretty much what I have them doing. So it's kind of bringing that fun in. The feed
That's excellent.
Great, you know, people say, oh yeah, and my plate is looking exciting and colorful, and, you know, and that's it's such a simple thing to do. And it's so easy to focus on that, just the color.
And it gets us out of our head. I think that so many people get into this analysis paralysis, like they're so fixated on calories and grams and micrograms of certain nutrients, and it takes us away from that, which really just is a very dry approach to eating, into a more vibrant one. Because, you know, we can talk about colors with kids. Kids can do whole detox as much as adults and people in their senior years. So I feel like there's so much division in food and eating right now. People are judgmental. They compartmentalize, they categorize, they give labels. What we need more of is unification. We need unity. We need the whole to come together. And I think that one of the ways that we can do that is through this element of color that we can all relate to.
Absolutely. You know, I'm a huge fan of that too. And of course, being visual, it looks even better on the plate. You know,
and you're good at capturing that.
I'm trying anyway. Yeah, but it does, you know, it does photograph better when it's colorful. So, so kind of, Deanna, what sort of people do you tend to see on, like, who does this program attract, and what sort of people tend to do whole detox? And I know you run it twice a year, so it's kind of a nice kind of thing to build into a yearly routine. That's what I'm starting to feel like, you know.
Yeah. Well, we've actually done surveys, so we know exactly who does whole detox. It's usually women between the ages of 35 and 64. That's like the chunk. That's like 75% of people that do the whole detox program. I think that women are just in general more proactive towards health, and they're more open to trying different things, is what I have found just with my programs. And maybe because I'm a woman, so I just attract women. Now, within that segment of women, we find a lot of professional women, believe it or not. We have a lot of busy moms, working moms, professionals that are highly educated, but not everybody is so super educated. It's just that this tends to be a more well-informed group than most. So we've done some surveys on that. So these are people that they get the connection between food and their health, and it's kind of like they've tried other programs, and now they're looking for something more because they keep doing the same programs, they get the same results, and it's kind of like, maybe I need to try something new, something out of the box, something that is more holistic when it comes to detox. So we tend to get a lot of those kinds of people. Yeah, people who have already tried lots of things and just want to try something that's different. And it is interesting because there is, you know, like what you spoke about before, it's like there is another element, because it's not just about the food, it's about emotions and mindset and thoughts and movement and all of other bits as well. And I know, I mean, I'm going to ask you this question because you have a lot more, you've seen a lot more of the programs, but I've been teaching assistant to you in your program, so I've seen some of these results too for what people share. So can you just talk about a bit what the sort of results people see even after just 21 days? Because, you know, most of the time, like, health is a lifelong journey, but like it's really remarkable. Like sometimes, and it blows my mind too when I see it in clinic, like even sometimes the power of food, because they forget about it because we just, you know, we all eat. Oh, I know. Mm-hmm. You're so right. So we've actually studied this. We did a survey with 682 people and collected data on many different categories of health. And what we found was across the board, there was an improvement of all the different categories of health. And so that means gastrointestinal and digestion. That means energy and feeling a lack of fatigue and just more energized throughout the day. That means better cognition. That means better cardiovascular parameters. It also means better body weight. We've had some incredible weight loss, anything between people not losing any weight to people losing, in fact, one person just reported online that she just lost 15 pounds in this 21 days. The maximum amount that I've seen people lose within that 21 days is about 20 pounds. And that's never anything that I'm focused on, because I don't focus on weight loss. I focus on getting healthy. And when you do that, your body tends to shift into its proper weight, whatever you need to be at. So we see that. You'll find this interesting. The greatest percentage improvement out of all of these categories of health was in emotions. So there was a 77% decrease in emotional eating within this cohort that we studied. So in fact, I was really kind of taken aback by that. I knew that I focused on emotional health, but I didn't think that so many people would have had that degree of improvement. I mean, that's over 75% of people in the program that benefited emotionally. And if you, as you know, if you work on emotional eating, essentially you're bringing your whole relationship with food back into alignment. So that one was the highest improvement that we saw out of all these categories that we tested.
So that's really remarkable, particularly then when most people would have, what I just said, like that detoxing is like another fad diet. So that's pretty powerful. And all the other things. Do you know what I mean? Imagine like if you were taking a pill that would give you all those benefits. Hey.
Yeah, and nothing can take away like addictions and cravings typically, right? Usually we quell the neurotransmitters by giving certain actives, but to really get in there and unearth a lot of the underbelly of what's going on behind those emotions that we have with food, that's much harder than I think a lot of the bodily symptomatic relief. But we see all of it. People think better, they sleep better. My dad was a case study. My dad did the Whole Detox for the first time last year, and he went off of one of his blood pressure lowering medications. He lost weight. His joint pain reduced by 40% within 9 days of the program. And for my dad doesn't really get that kind of stuff. So he actually had to experience it. And when he called me on day 9 and said that his joint pain was going away, he was almost in disbelief, like, how could this happen? And he was just doing the food part. So you can only imagine if people were doing the lifestyle. So one of the things for your audience, just to explain, is that for the 21 days of Whole Detox, there's like a menu for every day. And that menu is not just food. It's you pick from 7 different things that you can do. So if you don't feel like cooking that day or doing the food, you can do something else. It could be seconds where it's just like an affirmation, something that you say. It can also be something like a thought exercise, or it could be a meditation. It could be a movement. It could be just an emotion log. So there are many options. And that's really my belief system. And what I've seen clinically is that there are many paths up the mountain of healing. We don't have to take one path. Not everybody has to jump on the same road. There are many paths, and they're all creative paths. They're all individualized to you. So the beauty of Whole Detox in that way is that you can personalize it to what works for you and what you like.
Yeah, I like that. And it sort of gives that flexibility, within our lifestyles. And just, I like that. I like going with the flow. I don't like too many rules. So for me, that's very appealing. And it also, I think, gives the people a chance to meet them where they're at. You can pick whatever appeals, and sort of, if you're a nutritionist who feel like you've pinned down the food bit, there might be other things that you want to work on, So
Exactly. And in this interview I did yesterday, I remember she asked me, she said, what about CEOs and entrepreneurs and really busy people? And I said, this detox was actually made for them. The more busy you are, this is your detox. There isn't anything stringent about it. Nothing is super depriving. You don't have to go out and buy a ton of supplements. In fact, you don't have to buy any. I mean, it's all food and lifestyle, so everything is essentially free. You just get the book and you just do it. So I think that's the attractive part for many people.
Yeah, that's great. So I think we've covered a lot, and what the program is about and all the benefits that you can get from it. And I'm really looking forward to the next round, because every time you do it, you find something new. And of course, there should be a few of my recipes involved in this time too.
Which there are. And one other thing, Lynn, and you may want to mention this to your listeners too, is that before we embark upon the whole detox, everybody takes a quiz so they can figure out how to personalize the whole program to themselves. And then at the end, you take the quiz again and you see how well you did. And as you and I know, all of us have something to work on. And every time I do it, it's kind of like, okay, what am I working on this time? So sometimes it's the same thing. Other times it's a completely different thing. So we're always in a different place and working on our health.
Yeah, no, it is so true. So, Deanna, could you just leave us with one, I know you one thing is one of your big things, one.
I like 3.
All right. Well, I was going to ask for 1, but sure, if you want to give us 3, if you want to give us 3, do that. But just kind of, one thing that we can do now before we get to October, we still have a little while to go, and my tagline is simple ways to feel amazing. So I want it to be a one sort of detox takeaway that would make us feel amazing.
I'm going to give you the hardest thing to do as that one
simple.
thing.
Are you
ready? Well, it's a simple thing, but it's not necessarily the easiest thing. There's a difference between simple and easy.
That's true.
No, but I'm going to challenge all of you listening to try this. I want you to think 1 positive thought per day. Sounds easy, doesn't it? 1 positive thought per day. The reason I mention this is because if you think of the body, it's often pretty easy to give up sugar or to give up dairy or meat or whatever you're trying to focus on. When it comes to emotions, oftentimes, we recognize our emotions, we work with those, but thoughts are always there with us. They're pervasive. We think 60 to 80,000 different thoughts in a day, and for some of us, probably much more. And so what I would like is just to inject a positive thought, like put yourself on, I know we don't like the diet word, but let's think of this as like a thought diet, where we start to infuse our mind and our subconscious just with 1 super positive, beautiful thought. And what I would say to everybody is write it down on, and I don't have it on my desk, but a little Post-it note, right? And whatever that thought is, see if you can just continue to come back to that thought. And, we've got a number of days before we start. If you prime your mind, you can do it. That's all you need is a strong mind to get you through this program, a positive, supportive mind, because then you can handle any challenge that's going to come your way.
True. Yeah. I didn't see that one coming.
I know you can do this one, Lynn.
Sure. I have over my desk here and I look at it and it says, believe you can and you will. So
yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah, I have it framed. So that's one. I can keep practicing that one.
That's super. That's an incredible one. Yeah. So true. We talked about possibilities yesterday, right? And if you believe that something is possible, then it's doable. But if you don't think it's possible, it's almost like that's your toxic barrier. So our thoughts can help to liberate us from that.
Yeah, and actually, if I was going to wax on a bit on that, then but our favorite author says, John O'Donoghue, is possibility is the secret heart of creativity. And I think he goes on in the book as well to talk about creativity is that actually in that piece, if you bring in the creativity, that is the possibility that can open all the doors. Mm-hmm. I suppose if you bring in the creativity and we're all creative in different ways, then that can actually open the door into all the other bits, So yeah, I think
it's so true.
Fascinating, but creativity takes courage, so we might have to start there, or with fear, or a bit further back. So, but yeah, no, all exciting.
Yeah, or it just starts with a thought, just one little positive thought per day, and before you know it, we're living a positive life.
True. So thank you so much for enlightening us a bit more about Whole Detox and for hanging out and chatting with me. And hopefully everybody who's listening in is going to get excited about the Whole Detox as much as we are. So we hope to see a few of you on the program too in October.
All of you on the program. We want you all. It'll be fun. The more the merrier. That's how I see it.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely.
Thank you, Lynn. It's been a delight talking with you as always.
Thank you so much, Deanna.